After uploading Genesis Noir, I was in a bit of a predicament. My initial plan was to make a video on the newly released Nier Replicant, but this game would take me about 30 hours to beat, and then I still had to write and edit the video as well. Was I really going to pull a Mario 3D World and not upload for another 5 weeks? But then I came up with a video idea that wouldn't take me as long, and could easily be made while playing Nier Replicant in the meantime. A video on a game that's so manly that even the manliest of men would be shocked by its manliness. Growing up, we all read about the Disney fairy tales, or at least you heard about them from your siblings. The fairy tales about the different princesses like Snow White or Cinderella are some of the most famous stories of all time, and I have yet to run into someone that hasn't at least heard of them. Now of course, business is business, and what better way to make money than having small children buy your product? And thus, Disney Princess for the GBA was born. Disney Princess is quite similar to the Totally Spies game I reviewed earlier this year. There's a total of 7 princesses, with each of them having a set of minigames attached to their respective stories. In order to not make things confusing, I figured it was best to just cover this game princess by princess, so even my viewers don't get lost. So I think it's about time we just jump into it. Snow White's story starts off in the forest. The 7 dwarfs, aka Snow White's slaves, have been turned into statues by the jealous witch, and now it is your task to rescue them. This forest only contains 3 of the 7 dwarfs however, so you know there's more levels to come after this. Anyway, you have to collect these gems that are hidden in the forest for some reason in order to free the dwarfs. This forest level is nothing more than a basic side-scroller maze type level. All you really do is move left, right and occasionally up in order to access different parts of the forest and get lost. There are a bunch of chests scattered around the level that can contain gems, some HP, coins and these random ass pictures of which I'll explain the purpose at the end of the video. I just figured I'd mention them now so you don't get confused by the footage, considering every level has like 12 million chests. Either way, the level only has a bunch of basic ass enemies that are supposed to be obstacles but really only feel like a minor inconvenience. You got this spider coming down at the speed of a snail, these trees that lower their hands and these trees that throw berries on a timer, but none of them really pose a real threat. You can stop their attacks by singing them to sleep upon pressing the B button and sitting through a painfully slow animation each and every time. God, this animation is so annoying. But yeah, that's it. Get the gems and free the slaves. Simple as that. It's the same thing, but it's in the mines and you do some scuffed parkouring with terrible hitboxes. This time you collect pickaxes out of chests to make the 3 dwarfs get rid of the rocks blocking your path. 10 for creativity. The final Snow White level is a boss fight versus the evil witch in order to free the final dwarf. Apples fall down from above in patterns and your own hitbox is incredibly scuffed, so dodging is never a certainty. When the witch starts laughing you press B and a dwarf throws a diamond at her head, with a good chance of giving her a concussion. Repeat this 3 times and you win. I give this fight a 10 out of 10 for teaching you to always aim at someone's head. Belle's story starts off in a snowy forest. Some dude stole the enchanted rose from the castle for some reason and decided to hide it in plain sight in the forest. Now it's your task to collect it. Belle's first level is a little different than the Snow White exploration levels. Opposed to the Snow White levels, pretty much everything is located on the branches of trees and you spend most of your time jumping from branch to branch. This would be an alright idea, but we already established the hitboxes suck dick in this game, so this just doesn't work at all. I missed more jumps than I hit because these terribly designed hitboxes aren't even on the branches most of the time. I'm fairly certain this was designed by a blind guy. And then I haven't even mentioned the incredibly annoying wolf sound effects, which are supposed to be your enemies. This annoying howl keeps looping every few seconds for no apparent reason whatsoever, and it just really gets on your nerves after a while. It really sucks because the level actually looks really appealing, and it's quite a bit of fun to play through. Especially when you encounter one of these wolves and are able to throw snowballs at them to knock them out. But this howl, I just can't, man. Level 2 of the Belle story takes place inside of the castle. Upon stealing the enchanted rose, this dude scared off the enchanted furniture, and now you'll have to find all of them one by one, until you find Lumiere to light up the final rooms. Just like Snow White's forest and mines levels, this is another side-scroller maze type level. However, this is actually one of the better ones in the entire game, in my opinion. In order to find the hidden furniture, you need to walk past these closed curtains and open them, but this level has a bit of a twist. You only get 10 minutes to find everybody, and a bunch of the furniture is hidden behind silver, gold or platinum doors that you need to find the respective keys for. On top of this nice little twist, this maze is far more difficult than the ones in the Snow White story, so I spent most of my time feeling incredibly lost and wandering around the same 5 rooms. Truly the experience I was looking for. The Belle story then climaxes into a very underwhelming boss fight where this fucking dude wants to show the world the castle is haunted. And thus he runs after the furniture in a library? I don't know. All you do in this boss fight is throw books at this dude from above while he's chasing 3 different characters. Do this twice per character for a total of 6 times and you win. The timings are very generous and this will take you 2 minutes at most. Snow White's Apple Witch suddenly doesn't seem too lame now. Aurora's fairy tale. Pretty much a slightly better version of the Snow White story when it comes to the levels. In Aurora's story, the evil witch turned her fairy odd parents into butterflies, and now it's your task to find the 3 wands in the forest and turn them back into fairies. It's an exact replica of the Snow White level, but with fairies and a far less annoying wand attack. Recycling is fun. Oh no, the witch enchanted the castle with blue, green and pink thorn bushes. The king and the queen are trapped, go help them. It's another find and explore level with potions to destroy bushes. Now, here's some lazy script writing for ya. The text says Aurora was enchanted by the witch, but then she was freed and now it's time for the boss fight. Good for you, game, but what purpose does story progression like that have when it's explained in like 2 sentences and has 0 gameplay attached to it? It's literally pointless filler content, but the randomness got a good chuckle out of me. Speaking of chuckling, the boss fight is something to laugh at. Even though the boss has 5 HP instead of 3 now, the fight is just incredibly easy. Upon hurling fireballs at you, she becomes vulnerable. Keep spamming B while standing still and not moving an inch, and it should be a done deal within a minute, like 50 seconds maybe? Cinderella's story is actually one of the more unique stories of the bunch. The king is holding a ball and Cinderella wants to go, but her stepmother won't allow her to until she's done cleaning the house. This level looks like another side-scroller maze type level, but it's far more simplistic than that. Stepmother's cat Lucifer is being an annoying little shit, and you have to clean up its never-ending dirt paws, while stepmother yells at you to bring various objects to her in the meantime. Objects like the coffee cup and the book are in plain sight, while others have been stolen by this stupid-ass cat as well. Collect all the objects and eventually the cat that also drops you the final object in stepmother's room, and you're done. It's not too exciting, but it certainly feels refreshing. Does cleaning the paws even do anything until you have knocked out and dumped the cat in stepmother's room? I have no fucking clue. Level 2 is actually a pleasant surprise and one of my favorite levels in the game. Cinderella can finally go to the ball, but she ends up looking better than her stepsisters. They're obviously very jealous and want to set things straight. And thus, they challenge you to a dance-off? Even though this dance-off is pretty random, it's actually quite a bit of fun. You have to mimic your stepsister's dance moves by pressing A and B at the right time. The speed of the music changes per pattern, and because of this I ended up pressing buttons too early or too late at times, which actually made this level quite enjoyable. Hell, I even ended up almost game overing near the end. I'm giving this a 0 out of 10 though, for not having a stepmother boss fight. Ariel and her fish friends head out to go play at the abandoned ship, despite the king not allowing them to. Of course, the SeaWorld decides to punish them instantly for this stupid decision, because the crab gets caught and locked up by an evil sea witch. In order to free him, you have to collect 4 keys in, you guessed it, another maze type level in the form of an abandoned ship. Difference being, you can swim up and down instead of just being able to head left or right. It frees up a bit more space than the other levels, but I wouldn't really call it a big improvement or anything. Where the first level is quite a bit of fun with its enemies, chests and accessible areas in general, the second level fails to deliver. The evil sea witch has turned the 17 mermen and mermaids into eels for some random reason, and you're supposed to transform them back with your trident. It's essentially the same as the abandoned ship level, but this time you get from area to area by going through these portals. Not only do you get incredibly lost by being warped to an area without being able to instantly get back to the previous area, the areas themselves suck ass as well. Most of these areas have these very narrow pathways with lots of enemies, which wouldn't be a problem if the controls weren't this terrible. The developers did the terrible thing where you can't shoot in a certain direction without moving towards that area first. So if an enemy is moving towards you, you'll have to first move towards them, in order to face into the right direction to kill them. I don't think I have to tell you that this resulted in a lot of unnecessary damage. Fuck not being able to change directions in place. So many games have taught us this is so fucking stupid. Why still implement this? I don't know. Ursula the Sea Witch has to be defeated once and for all, but it doesn't seem like she was ready to face me. She swoops her tentacle around, summons some fireballs and spawns in these eels, but spamming B with the trident is enough to beat this boss in 50 seconds. 50 seconds of my life I'll never get back. Jasmine is the last princess of the bunch, but definitely not the least when it comes to the levels. The evil Jafar traps Jasmine in a cave, and for some inexplicable reason you have the infamous flying carpet with you to be able to escape. You need to deal with fire-spewing statues, flying swords and gusts of wind pushing you back in order to reach these buttons. Hover over them in order to make them green and open up the gates blocking your path. It's a pretty straightforward exploration level, and honestly I like it more than most of the levels I have covered so far. Oh, and at the end you reunite with Will Smith or something. Jasmine has escaped Jafar's terribly guarded cave, but Jafar isn't giving up just yet. He sends his guards after Jasmine to catch her once again. Jasmine wants to end this once and for all by sneaking into the palace and confronting Jafar. This level is exactly what I wanted to see more of in this game. It's not a boring ass maze with doors or pathways in a forest, it's actually a semi-platformer. You're able to jump on bricks that are sticking out or use Will Smith as a trampoline in order to jump onto buildings. Not only do you have to jump from building to get to the end of the level, most of the collectibles are on top of them as well. Instead of just going left or right, they finally made use of being able to jump. The sword enemy that just mindlessly runs around and the dude that's throwing barrels at a fixed rate are still pretty generic, but I really wish they utilized this type of level design more than just once. It's finally time to confront Jafar, but before we can do anything, Jafar traps Will Smith for his role in Winter's Tale. I can hardly blame him. Then the boss fight starts, and while I can hardly believe it myself, this is the first and only good boss fight in this game. Jafar multiplies himself by 4 and you have to guess the correct one in order to be able to damage him. Upon doing so, he then retaliates by shooting fire with his staff, summoning a rain of fire or forming this ring of fire around you that actually caught me off guard the first few times, because you need to stand still instead of run from it. It's a creative and fun boss fight which the other princesses were lacking big time. So, there you have it. All of the princesses have gone from looking like they're homeless to actually looking like successful princesses. But wait, there's more. After completing every story, a bonus level opens up that actually features every single princess. Now while you might think this is a relatively cool idea, reality is often very disappointing. In the middle of this stage, there's a giant bell swinging from left to right. A princess walks in, the bell starts spawning gems that you're supposed to catch, and that's it. They don't start falling any faster or more spread out, you just do the exact same thing with all of them, and you're done. This level is so bland and so incredibly boring that it truly feels like a kid started their homework at 11:30 with a 12 PM deadline. Worst level in the game, and it's not even close. As the heart monitor sound might suggest, there's one more thing left to mention. The collectibles. In the exploration levels you can find a bunch of chests that can contain one of two things. These pictures of objects related to their respective stories, or these coins. You can look at the pictures by clicking on treasure in the main menu and look at PNGs? Yeah, this added a whole lot, devs, thanks. But then we have the collectible coins. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a clue what the coins even do. There's no reward for collecting all 100, nothing related to it in the main menu. It's just there for the sake of collecting. I too can press Ctrl C and Ctrl V after playing any RPG or whatever with coins. And last but not least, we have the passwords. To be honest, I'm not sure what the point of this option really is. At the end of every level you get a personalized password that you're then able to enter elsewhere by pressing the password option on the main menu. This password then resets the entire game to the point where this password was generated. Now, while this function is never explained and they just randomly start handing out these passwords from the very first level, what makes this even worse is that the game has no save option at all. You either beat this game in one sitting or try again whenever you have more time. As a kid I thought this game was incredibly hard, and not being able to save made it so that I never actually beat it, let alone resetting my entire game because of this weird ass password function that comes without an explanation, causing me to start over again. There is no save option to fall back on, so if you fall into the password trap, you're just fucked and there's nothing you can do. All sarcasm, jokes, memes and Will Smiths aside, I actually think this game is fairly enjoyable. Sure, I would have liked a little more variation rather than recycling the same level every time. The boss fights really could have used a rework, the bonus level sucks, the hitboxes suck, the collectible treasures and coins are useless, the movement speed is far too slow and what point was it trying to make again? The game isn't necessarily incredibly bad, but it just feels a bit rushed. Sure, the levels and boss fights feel recycled, but at least they tried their very hardest to make them feel unique from one another. Despite the same old with every princess, I never really found myself being bored or not enjoying the levels. I just wanted something different at times. And despite the sarcasm in most of this video, I did praise the levels that try to be something different than the others, because I legitimately like them quite a bit, especially for something as simple as a kids game. Other than that, I think the visuals are fairly appealing for a game that was created in this era, and aside from the annoying ass wolf sound effect, the music in this game does a lot for the game too. The songs feel very princessy, and each and every track honestly sounds really good for a GBA game. Look, I'm not gonna lie to myself and call this game good or anything, but even scuff games like these have a certain charm to them. Would I recommend this? Probably not, but I still had a great time playing this regardless.